Hi. So this video just picks up where the other left off. Once we've loaded our client chart information, now we can start looking for forms and content within the client's chart itself. Okay. So again, I am using my practice client, Tina Testing, who is not a real person in our system. Okay. And I'm looking at the front of her chart. What you're going to do is, as your chart is loading, you're going to see sections where it turns kind of gray and it says no selection. Okay, so if you want to look for forms, and specifically we're going to look for the ID signature page, we're going to go to any level that kind of turns gray and we're going to click the down arrow, and I'm going to select the specific one that indicates the time frame that you want to look at. So for example, I see that she had an expired access with us, which means that she received services for a period of time and then left the CSB. But that covers the date range of 2011, and I'm not looking for services that far back. So I'm going to choose the active one that covers from 2012 to present. So I'm going to select active. Okay. Same sort of thing with the next level. If it turns gray, I just want to select the time frame. This one's active since 2014. That includes the date range I'm looking at. Okay, so far so good. Then when we get to the cost center level, now I don't know why it's named this, but it really does mean program. It says, which program do you want to see in the chart? And we want to see developmental disabilities support coordination. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the arrow. And I apologize for all the many programs that our test client is enrolled in, but you only have to concern yourself with one, and that should be Only Road DDSC. And I can see that it's active also for the date range that I'm looking for. So I'm going to select that option. Okay, so now I've got my chart all lined up and telling the system that I specifically want to look for developmental disability program information. Okay. The signature page is located in this tiny little green plus immediately to the right of where it says DD support coordination. Now, it is imperative that you have DDSC here before you select this. Otherwise, you would be looking at forms for another program. Okay, so just make sure you have developmental there. I'm going to click on the green plus, and I can see a list of forms. If you happen to have an individual who has a long list, you can click the heading here where it says form, right where my cursor is, and that will alphabetize this list for you. You can also sort it by date by clicking on this little heading here that says effective date. Now, if your list looks like this and you can't easily read it, the list kind of looks like Excel. So you go up here where the headings are, and it will make a cross, and you just double click on it, and then you'll be able to see the full name just like is shown on my screen. Okay. So the specific form I'm looking for is called ID Person-Centered Plan Signature Page. But of course, if you're looking for another specific form in that list, you can click on that one also. I'm going to double click. And then you see there's an open button, but there's also a note here. And the note says scanned in, see scanned attachments. So what that does is that indicates that this form was printed and signed by the people in the meeting by hand, by pen, versus an electronic signature pad within our system signed electronically. So what that means is that if I open this form, I wouldn't expect to see a lot of the signatures on there, and I'll show you how to find forms that are scanned in as well. So you just click on open, and if the form has been signed electronically, you'll see everyone's signature here, okay? And I'm going to scroll down, and you see we have a variety of options for all the people who were at that individual's meeting, okay? Now I'm going to scroll to the bottom. Okay, so once you've viewed it, you can just hit cancel to close. And then that's it. So I'm going to save this to close it. Okay, and I'm going to hit close on this form, this window also. Okay, so we got a message saying that something was scanned. You're going to look in the scanned attachments button for anything that we've received from other providers that we need to include as part of our electronic health record, or anything that our staff did not complete electronically and completed by hand, as I mentioned before, or got signed by hand. So I'm going to go up to the top of the chart, right beneath where I put that client ID number or name to locate the chart to begin with. And I'm going to click on the button that says Profile of Client. Okay, and it's going to load the face sheet for the individual. And at the bottom, there is a button that says Attach, and the icon next to it is a paper clip. So it's literally forms that have been attached to this client's record by scanning. I'm going to click on this, okay? And primarily, the ID forms are under an attachment category, which you can click the down arrow to see, and called clinical, okay? So for most of your client documents, you're going to be able to select clinical here and then the filter button. Now, in my particular example, they did not have any attachments saved under the clinical heading, but I'm going to show you an example. If I click on this down arrow and leave it as no selection, instead of just seeing things under the clinical heading, I'm going to see anything that is attached and scanned in. And I'm still going to click on the filter button here. Okay. So I can see an abbreviated name, full name, and I'm going to scroll this over a bit, just like I did with the form list. So I can see this is hospital discharge paperwork. This is a release of information. Obviously, this is a practice client, so it's not going to have real clinical information here. I just want to show you how to use it. Okay. So what you do is your specific files that you're looking for, primarily under where it says abbreviated name, are going to say ID forms. Okay, so that's the category that you want to look for. You want to look for the abbreviated name, ID forms. You'll see the full name here. And then where it says category over to the right-hand side, which I'm going to scroll this over so you can see it better, this will say clinical. So just something to keep in mind to make it easier on you when you're looking for all of these forms. Okay. Once you find a form that you would like to view, you do a single click. I'm going to do this release as an example. Okay. So the biggest thing is if you single click, it will highlight it orange, which is exactly what you want. If you happen to accidentally double click, you'll see the scanning details. So if you get this screen, just hit cancel. Happens to everyone. And you are just going to select this view button here. So single click, it will highlight, and then you select view. If you get any sort of error message that occurs, just try to click it again. Sometimes it takes a couple of clicks to open it up, but otherwise it will load right like this. And then you'll be able to see the scanned in form however it was completed. And this is an example of a release, but you will see the clinical document or the developmental form that you're looking for. So then I'm just going to click on the X here to close it out. And then I could click on any of the other forms to view them. So I could stay right here and just kind of go in and out of the scanned documents. Now, again, if I wanted to sort these, so for example, if you're looking for ID forms and the abbreviated name on those is ID forms, I could click where it says abbreviated name. It'll put them in alphabetical order, and that may make things easier to find for you. Whenever you're finished viewing the attachments, you just hit close here. Okay, and then you save. And you can say no. If you ever get this pop up, you can just say no. And then you'll be back on the front of the client's chart.